Got a few minutes? Well, that's all I will need for this color quickie on Dovetail by Sherwin Williams, which is clearly a beautiful paint color that we need to talk about. By the end of this video, you, my friend, will be a paint color savant, at least regarding this specific color, as I will tell you how light or dark you can expect it to be in your home. I'm also going to talk about its undertones and all that cool stuff. But not only that, I'm going to quickly go over 3 other potential wall colors that you can use with it, either in the same room or different rooms of your home, unless you just live in one room. Then that's fine. On top of that, I'm going to give you 2 trim color options because one is never good enough. Now is it? If you're ready, then smack that like button and let's get into it. So Sherwin Williams is one of the major paint companies that's available in North America, and I find it has a nice balance of product variety and awesome color selection. Not every company can do both effectively. Dovetail is one of those darker colors that gives us a subtle blend of gray and a bit of brown mixed in. I'd like to define it as a taupe because of that combination, which is sort of living in the darker end of the neutral color spectrum. I would say it does lean more towards the warmer side of things, generally speaking, although for some reason, Sherwin-Williams plopped this color into the cool neutrals color collection, which I find interesting. I guess it would feel cool next to a warm beige, tan, or especially yellow, but I guess sometimes with neutrals like Dovetail that are based in brown, they are more subtle with their color temperature because they sort of walk that line between warm and cool. So it really depends on your home and everything that's in it that will really impact the color. You won't mistake this color for being bluey or anything, and that's largely due to its brown undertone that's present. Depending on your interior lighting, that will really determine whether you'll see a little more of the brown or more of that slate gray coloration. And also, I find that your more gray dominated neutrals can sometimes show hints of greeniness, but Dovetail is just so muted that even if that was the case, it shouldn't cause you too many problems. Shouldn't. At least. I did say it was on the dark side of things, and we can figure this out exactly by looking at its LRV, or its light reflectance value. Dovetail scores a 26 out of 100, which pretty much puts it in the bottom quarter of colors, darkness-wise. That's what LRV really tells us. Many people would define it as an accent color because of how deep it is, but I have seen it work really well as a wall color, like all over a room, perhaps in those larger rooms or those areas of your home that get a lot of really nice lighting to counteract how naturally dark the color is. That's sort of the trick to using it. However, a much more easy implementation inside your home is to simply use it in accent form, whether it's on a single wall or maybe on some cabinetry or even on doors for a fun alternative to off-white. Colors like this are also a bit easier to digest for a lot of people because I wouldn't say this is an overly bold and dynamic color, other than the fact that it's darker than your average off-white. But I don't really see it falling out of favor like some other more polarizing colors that exist. Okay, so you like Dovetail. You're into it. It's giving you good vibes. And you're planning on using it for your next project inside your home. What are some other paint colors that I would suggest to go with it? I got 5 for you, including 3 other wall colors and 2 trim color options, whether you want something light or dark. So wall colors, let's start with toque white. That's the Canadian beanie term that we like to use. It's called a toque, not a hokey or whatever. This is definitely the lightest wall color choice in this video. And it's not even super light either. It scores a 76 out of 100 on the lightness or LRV scale, which is much lighter than Dovetail, but not a stark white or anything. It sort of contains the same undertones in the sense that it has that grayed out brown quality to it, but because it's so much lighter, it will feel like a true off-white next to Dovetail. You have a lot of contrast between the two. I find that toque white also introduces a little beige or almost a yellow-based warmth in conjunction with Dovetail. It's not much, but it's just enough to differentiate itself. Great choice if you want a lighter main color in a room and then maybe have Dovetail as an accent color. These two pair really well, and you're going to get a ton of contrast to help them pop off of one another. For something with a little more depth and perhaps a little less contrast, you could also go with Gossamer Veil, which is a bit closer to Dovetail, I would say. What's cool is Sherwin Williams often recommends cool colors like blues and grays to go with Gossamer Veil rather than browns. But on its own, it does have that same gray kind of brown quality that Dovetail has. And with a 62 LRV, there's still enough of a difference between the two to separate them. But this is a second wall color choice that will feel more substantial than Toque White, for example, while still being light enough for many areas of your home. Gossamer Veil and colors in that low 60s lightness range tends to be pretty universally liked color choices because of their versatility. It's a bit of a Goldilocks amount of depth, not too dark and not too light. My third wall color is actually darker than Dovetail and takes things into a very different direction. It's called Distance, and it's a slightly softened navy blue that feels pure and somewhat nautical, I will say. Can I say that? If I do say so myself. It almost has that new denim look to it. You know, those jeans you haven't washed yet, and maybe you should? Kind of looks like that. And I think it even leans a tad indigo or purple ever so slightly, but I tend to enjoy that. Using Distance and Dovetail in the same space as paint colors might be a tad tricky because they're both dark and they're also both very saturated. But if you have them in differing nearby rooms, they're wonderful choices. Or you can pick one as an accessory color rather than using them both in paint form. It'd be really cool to have Distance as a wall color throughout a space, and then maybe have furniture that are painted with Dovetail. So you kind of have the neutral furniture and then the accent walls all over. Cool. Or you can just flip it. Just do kind of the neutral on the walls and then a nice fun blue dresser or whatever you want to paint. I really dig these two colors. So what about trim colors? For all intents and purposes, I'm giving you two color choices for your trim and your woodwork, which can include anything from baseboards to doors to door and window frames, even wainscoting and crown molding, whatever. A lot of you may want a corresponding white paint color, which I will give you, but then some other people kind of want some dark trim as an alternative, so I got both. My white choice would be Snowbound because I've used it plenty of times, especially with colors containing a brown undertone, and I find it to be really reliable and clean and likable. Just like me. Did I shower today? I did. There is an incredible amount of contrast between Dovetail and Snowbound, which means the two really vibe with each other nicely. My dark color for the trim had to be really dark because Dovetail on its own was coming in with a lot of depth. The color is called Clove, and I clove it. Horrible. The color is called Clove, and it's an extremely deep, dark, chocolatey espresso brown that makes Dovetail look much lighter in comparison. Very similar undertones again, with that bit of brown mixed in with an almost charcoal gray off black. But again, for most people, Snowbound is probably going to be what you're likely to use on your trim. And for more details on that color, you can check it out right over here. We did a video on it, and you'll also find some color pairings for even more ideas. Love ya.